Abla runs a company called Five Missions More. 1998, you were here?
Was it 98? We were trying to work it out.
It would have been 1998 because you were in this building.
Yeah.
You were in this very building when we started talking about what publishing is for your diploma, and then you went out into the world. So what would be a good idea would be just let's quickly run through that stuff so that people understand how you got to where you are now.
Okay.
So you were at college doing a diploma, you did a little bit of music business as part of it, then you got an internship.
I came to Northbrook to do music tech, so I thought I wanted to be a producer, and then realised I could never outstay all the boys in the booths, and I just didn't have the stamina for all the technical stuff. So I left here and then thought, well, I still want to work in music, so I'll try and work for a label. And then I hassled True Thoughts Records for maybe 6 months. It was really hard to get them to kind of give me an internship, and then started interning there 2 days a week. And after 3 months, they offered me a job, and they said, well, we need someone to do publishing. And I was like, what's that? And they were like, maybe I'll figure it out. And they gave me a desk in the corner of the room and 2 big box files full of like contracts and royalty statements, and said, yeah, just have a read through those. And basically I stayed there for 3 years and got a real kind of intensive kind of overview of how a record label works and what publishing is, and how the two things kind of interact with each other, sales and publishing and everything. And then after 3 years I left and set up my company with 2 other partners, and we've been going for 9 years.
The company that you started was not a record label. You went to True Thoughts, that was a record label.
That was a record label.
What was the company that you started?
It was a music publishing company and consultancy. So it started off as just a publishing company, and we decided to do publishing because we thought there are very few overheads. We don't have manufacturing costs or promo or any of that stuff, and we could just sort of hit the ground running. But what we didn't factor in was that publishing companies generally work by having enormous catalogues that generate tiny bits of income, with maybe 2% of the catalogue generating quite a lot of income. And when you've got 50 songs that nobody's heard of, it's quite hard to make a living from it. So we realised really quickly that we weren't going to be able to amass catalogue quickly enough to be able to kind of make it a success. So we started taking on catalogue from other publishers and labels and saying, well, look, we'll rep you for sync. If we land anything, we'll take 20%. It's non-exclusive. You can work with anyone else you want to. And in the meantime, we sort of built our catalogue, slowly signing bits and pieces by writers we thought were good. And it was really, really difficult at first because you're basically in competition with every other publisher there is, from EMI to Ninja Tune, Warp, Chrysalis at the time, anyone. But we found that the best way to kind of distinguish ourselves and to make a living was to be really, really particular about pitching songs for synchronisation. As in, we never pitched anything that wasn't right for a brief. We only took on catalogue for consultancy that we really thought we were going to be able to land stuff for, to keep our clients happy. And that seemed to work because our catalogue still remains very small as a publishing catalogue, but we have quite a lot of success.
And when you say small, what are we talking about?
Our Five Missions More catalogue is about 2,500 songs, and we have 3 sub-publishing catalogues that are other publishing catalogues that we look after in the UK for sync and administration. So that's very small for a publishing catalogue. Very small.
And your sub-publishing, what countries do they come from? Are they not UK?
Actually, all 3 are UK.
Yeah.
So we have one there's a label called First Word Records. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they have a publishing arm attached, but they're focused mainly on records, and they just didn't really have the time or the expertise to run their publishing company, so we look after that. And there's another very small publishing catalogue called Pictures International, which is attached to a label called Pictures Music, very kind of left field, cool stuff. And again, they want to focus on records, so we do their publishing for them. And the third one is a bespoke music house in Brighton who make music specifically for adverts to brief. They have composers rather than artists, and we admin them, but worldwide outside of the UK.
So they look after they get all those jobs.
They get those jobs, and they collect their own royalties in the UK, and then we collect for them internationally because they don't have the relationships that we have. abroad.
Do you go to a lot of international
We
conferences?
usually go to MEDEM. That's the one that we go to every year. It's very costly. So and there are two of us, and so far, we're still a small company. So we focused on MEDEM. We recently went to LA for the first time for a week, which is a really, really good kind of trip business-wise, to meet, lots of music supervisors, producers, and different kind of industry people there, because USA is like probably the most important territory for sync in the world.
Is it worth clarifying what a music supervisor
Yes, so
is?
a music supervisor can either be somebody who just works to place music in TV shows and film and computer games and adverts in general. So we work with someone we call a music supervisor in the States exclusively, who represents our catalogue, and his job is to place our catalogue in. His job is to have the contacts to send our music to and pitch for these TV programmes and etc., adverts, etc. Or a music supervisor can be somebody that works specifically on a show, so like Mad Men, or several shows like Mad Men and The Blacklist, and on and on, all the American TV shows. Sometimes they work exclusively on shows, and sometimes they're people that just rep catalogue rather than rep the show, if you know what I mean. If you're a production music publisher, we've decided there are three ways that you can kind of negotiate deals as a production music publisher. You can either be a PRS MCPS affiliated library, which means that anyone who wants to use anything from your catalogue goes directly to MCPS, and there's a rate card, and it's cleared through MCPS, who collect the money and distribute the income to you in your statements, as with other royalties. Or you can have your own rate card and negotiate directly with your clients. Or you can be a royalty-free library where your clients pay you a one-off fee every year, and they can use anything they want, as much as they want from your library. It's very difficult to be the third one unless you've got tons and tons and tons and tons of songs and tons of money, because obviously you need loads of clients, and if you've got a small catalogue, then who's going to pay you a one-off fee? Who's going to pay you $5,000 to use 250 songs? So you need to have a really big catalogue. And there are some huge production music libraries, huge. They've been going for years and years and have like millions of songs.
So which of the three have you chosen?
We are PRS MCPS affiliated.
Yeah.
So
it's the most accessible, isn't it?
It's the most accessible
for people that make programmes, and when they're looking, they will look at yours along with
lots of
Warner and other
exactly,
others, I guess.
and also it's not the cheapest way of licensing production music, but it's the calibre tends to be quite good with PRS.
And it's been going that way for a long time, hasn't it? It's quite established.
It is very established, yeah. And the rate card is kind of quite fair, I think.